Hiya, so I wanted to talk about some glimpses that I had when I was younger. Though I didn't even really know what glimpses were, or out-of-body experiences, or anything like that really. And I suppose it happened when I was very, very young, so I didn't have any context for what was happening. So when I was about 8 or 9, I was just at home in my room. I think I was playing with a train set or something I had at the time, and it was just as if I just like clicked my fingers and suddenly I was just outside of my body, and I suddenly felt as if I was everything in the universe, literally bar nothing. And I felt as if I was love itself, and it felt like instead of feeling like I was being loved or I was loving, it just felt like I was love. And it was, really, really a very intense amount of love. Probably more love that you'd probably ever experience, maybe if you were, for example, inside the body still. Yeah, it's really hard to describe, but there was so much love that it seemed unreal in a way. Although it was completely on the other flip side, I knew it was totally real. And then it was as if I just clicked my fingers again, or someone, and then I was back inside my body. And I was just like looking at my hands, because the identity that I'd taken myself to be, so this person that was called Katie, who was 9, who was this child, wasn't in the body anymore. There was nobody possessing my body. There was no identity inside the body. So when I looked at my hands, it just felt like they were just hands that didn't belong to anybody, didn't belong to me. It was just a body. And so there was this kind of seeing that there was no one there, and because there was nobody there, that also it also felt as if there was no other either. And so as a 9-year-old child, it felt like my parents weren't really my parents. And so it felt like, that felt, obviously for someone who was just so young, that felt really terrorizing, and I didn't really know what it meant. I couldn't understand. I couldn't understand why I felt like everything and that I was the love, and then when I went back inside the body, there was no one there, and that I wasn't really Katie, and that I wasn't really the daughter of these parents that I knew. And because I couldn't really understand it or make any connections to what that meant, I felt really afraid. Like this terror suddenly started to kind of rise up. And I remember just sitting on my bed, kind of like, I don't know what it means. And I think my kind of 8-year-old brain kind of just made something up at the time that was kind of like, something very crazy about who I was. Like maybe I was an alien from out of space that had come to Earth. Because, the experience, I suppose, felt like it wasn't of this world, I suppose. And so that's the only thing that my brain could come up with as to what it was about. And then, because I was so afraid, and there was so much terror about what it could mean, I kind of put it to the back of my mind for a really long time, and I didn't talk to anybody about it. And it wasn't until maybe I was in my 20s that I started to talk about it, maybe with someone, with one person. And they didn't really know what it was about either. And then when I got to about 32, I suddenly discovered non-duality. And it was a video by Mooji that I watched. And it was kind of like, so I was going to go to a Mooji retreat. I had that in my mind at the time. And there were these 2 videos that you had to watch before you go on the retreat. So I literally just watched the first video. And about halfway through the video, he asked this question. And he said, but who were you before your mother and father gave you your name? And I don't know why, but that question just, it seemed to connect a lot of the dots about what that experience had been when I was younger, and what he was talking about, what he was pointing to in his teachings. So suddenly I started to realize that like I was everything, and that is obviously our true nature, and that we are the love, and that is our true nature too. And that the illusion is that there really is no identity, and it's the identity that gets created that is the illusion, that is just from conditioning from this world. And him asking me that question, or asking the question in the video, was just suddenly like this kind of big like it all just suddenly got mixed together in my mind, and everything just suddenly just made more sense. And then obviously I just started getting more and more into non-duality after that, because I really understood what it was that they were pointing to. Yeah, and then obviously I got into Kundalini.